So this is our, I think, sixth session today, and we have Ashwin also joining from, he's a member also here at the SAS branch Gurgaon, and very connected with the teachings of Mother and Sri Aurobindo. So Ashwin, just to kind of give you an overview of what we have been up to for now until now. So this is the sixth session, and these sessions are based more. I've been doing research, say talks of Alok Pandey and talks of Shraddhavan, who talks about takes these lines individually and discovers the English behind the reveals us the English behind the Savitri, and also some interpretations by MP Pandit, and sometimes I take this taking from Dr. Anand Reddy. So it's all a mix, and plus our own reflections on these lines.
Okay.
So it'll all be a mix, and you are most welcome anytime. All of us can unmute and share, or type in the chat window or share. Both are equally good. And
O-
I've been more focusing on the psychological aspect of Savitri rather than the evolutionary perspective, more, or the mystical one, more on the psychological perspective, how it is related to our day to day practical life. So we have been focusing more on that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Understood.
yeah. Okay. So we'll be just going through the last few lines just to have an overlap with the last session. So if any one of you could just read, say, until now, until here, dim appeal, and then somebody else can do the rest, the persistent thrill, and then until here, uh, from the reclining body of God. So if anyone can begin or wishes to begin.
Shall I go?
Yes, Ashwin, please.
Okay. The persistent thrill of a transfiguring touch persuaded the inert, black quietude, and beauty and wonder disturbed the fields of God. A wandering hand of pale enchanted light that glowed along a fading moment's brink, fixed with gold panel and opalescent hinge, a gate of dreams ajar on mystery's verge, one lucent corner windowing hidden things, forced the world's blind immensity to sight. The darkness failed and slipped like a falling cloak from the reclining body of a god.
Yeah, thank you. So again, parallelly referring to the beauty of the dawn, how from a darkness, this light is now coming in mysterious hues. And along with that, the beauty of those moments in our lives where no matter for how short, when light touches our being, when true light, truth, love touches our being, how darkness in front of it fails and slips like a falling cloak, as if darkness was nothing but a blanket covering that light, which was anyway there, reclining body of a god. And this is referring to the light, the light of dawn, the dawn goddess. So no matter how dark the situation was, persuaded the inert black quietude, black and inert, as if there is no life in there. But there was so much intensity in that light of dawn that it disturbed as if the fields of God. And then this imagery, as it comes here, as if there was a wandering hand of this pale, enchanted light. The light is that hand, a little pale, not very intense, that glowed along a fading moment. The moment is very little, and I'm sure all of us can relate to these moments of bright light, bright revelations that we go through in our lives when we are on this path. Something cracks open and we are shown something else as if coming from some other realms. A gate of dreams, ajar on mystery's verge. So, although everything, the whole universe is such a big mystery, we are just kind of, our own experiments, through our own experiments, we find little clues to this mystery, but they're always less, then another clue comes and then we realize that the previous ones were maybe something else, and now we have to progress and find something new. So, this mystery that the universe is, as if through that gate, through that crack of dawn, something was shown of the worlds beyond this material realm, which is our own possibility. Something which is in usual daily, common daily life, which is hidden from us, because we get so much stuck in the normal mundane life, lifeless routines all the time, that this light always evades us. And it's only in these little moments that this light is revealed to us. So, also parallelly referring to those moments in our life. Yeah. And then I'll just take these new lines further. So maybe one of you can read these lines in green. Okay, Taru. Okay, no problem. No problem. So anyone, Reggie or Aradhana, anyone, you can go ahead.
I can go.
Yes, Reggie, please go ahead.
Then, through the pallid rift that seemed at first hardly enough for a trickle from the suns, outpoured the revelation and the flame.
Just read the next sentence as well.
The brief perpetual sign record above.
Yeah. So now this pale opening in the sky, in the darkness of the sky, it's very narrow. This opening is very narrow, very little moment, little space, but it's just enough for this trickle from the suns, from the beyond, from something which is higher than this earthly realm. So although the path, the moment is very narrow for the light, but it's just enough for this trickle from the suns, and from just that narrow rift, what outpours? Outpoured the revelation and the flame, as if through that narrow trickle, something of the beyond outpours itself. Now, I personally relate with this as, again, as I'm taking more on the psychological perspective, those moments in our lives, whether through a book or through an interaction or through listening to some talk or something, or maybe just alone, one alone moment in life, something shifts within, as if some light downpours in our being from somewhere high, from some higher realms. Although that moment is a very little moment, but it is just enough, and that revelation and flame is able to even pass through that little narrow opening that is available to it because of its intangibility. A lot of light pours through that crack, and then the brief perpetual sign recurred above. Now, this is a very beautiful thing, a brief perpetual sign. So, this is a paradox fit in together. Although this sign is very brief, it's very momentary, but it's also perpetual. Why perpetual? but because it will keep on coming and coming and coming, unless we are ready, completely ready to, because it has to come and go away. We will know in the further lines why it goes away, why it fades away, the beauty of the dawn, and it becomes the common light of the day, why it does so. But because we know through our life journeys that there are times and phases in our lives when we are not completely ready for this outpour and revelation. We are just a little ready. So only that much is revealed to us. Not complete revelation is done in front of us because we are not ready yet. Many parts of the being are still struggling whether I want to give up the ego, not yet, maybe, how much surrender is possible right now at this moment, these kind of things. So this struggle goes on because the influence of the inconscious is a lot. It's coming from centuries, eons of evolution. So as and when I get ready for grace, only that much of grace is downpoured upon me. And that is why grace keeps on coming. It is perpetual, but it's also brief. Why brief? Because my being is not yet completely ready to have it, right? But it's the purpose, it's the responsibility, if I can say, of the divine to keep on coming perpetually and letting us this opportunity that if I am ready, I can allow that in my life, because it's a free surrender, it's a free will at each moment. And now this is also referring to the avatars in human evolution, how they come. And if we look at the complete history of time, you will see that there was very little brief moments of time where these avatars were, and in most of the time the humanity was in darkness, more or less, right? So these avatars, they come, they do their work as if they sow the seeds of a new creation, and then they do their work and then go off, you know fade away from the earthly realm. Because the humanity now, in only in time the humanity gets ready for the complete dawn of this revelation, or the flame that is referred to here. Yeah. So if anybody doesn't want to add anything here, or if you want to, please add, and then we can take up the next lines.
Just a small observation, like actually here, if you notice, Sri Aurobindo's used the word sons with plural.
Yes.
So there could be some, I'm not sure what's the meaning, significance of it, but
Yeah.
not just one son, but multiple sons.
True, true, true. I think this would also be, again, just extrapolating on it. Um, Also be because, for example, avatars, if we see, they are coming from one sun and they are the sons. So in that brief moment of time in the human evolution, one sun, small with a not a capital S but a small s, does its job, as if it outpours the trickle, outpours the flame out of itself, out of its own being, and then it kind of done its job, and then it's fading away, and then the other one comes, and then the other one comes. So although it's coming from all the same sun, but it's like trickle from the suns, because it's only a little that we are able to absorb from those avatars, because as we are not ready, completely. So just extrapolating, I don't know.
I guess actually when you said that, it reminded me like later on in Savitri, there's the description of when Savitri meets the supramental Godhead. So
Yeah.
there's a wonderful description over there of the supramental Godhead. I think there's one line, I don't recollect exactly, but it just says that it's kind of it like it says the whole creation, the all the light in the creation is just one flash from his eyes when he opens his eyes.
Yeah.
So that kind of refers to how much of what is there manifested in this universe is nothing compared to what is not yet manifested, in the
Exactly.
unmanifest.
Yes, yes, beautiful, beautiful. And that is why, people many a times, people really get very anxious, why am I not getting complete light or full light? Why is it not there in my life yet? But we have to realize that only that much is revealed to us for which we are ready. And as Ashwin shared, that the intensity is so much of what which is not yet in manifestation, that we are not yet completely ready to take, that outpour. And that is why even in our lives, it is only revealed in very, gradual moments, in slowly, 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 as we become, if I can say, use the word, ripe enough or mature to have, say, this much of intensity of light, and then that much is revealed to us, because for the rest of it we are not yet completely ready. Yeah. So let's take further. Yeah. So Aradhana ji, I think, cannot read. Taru cannot read. So Ashwin and Reggie and me. Okay. So Ashwin, would you like to go?
Okay. The brief, perpetual sign record above, a glamour from unreached transcendences, iridescent with the glory of the unseen, a message from the unknown immortal light, ablaze upon creation's quivering edge. Dawn built her aura of magnificent hues and buried its seed of grandeur in the hours.
Beautiful. Thank you. So, a glamour from unreached transcendences. Now, this glamour is usually used, when we talk about Bollywood, Hollywood, that kind of glamour and attraction, a very strong, intense attraction. And when I was hearing to Shraddhavan's commentary on this, it's also, she shared that glamour is actually coming from the same root as grammar, which is the art of putting things in a sequence. So this refers to an enchantment, as if very articulately someone has put things in a beautiful sequence. So that produces a kind of an enchantment. So this magical enchantment now is coming in the sky, a glamour from unreached transcendences, places where we haven't even reached. We don't even know about those places, higher realms, worlds which we aren't even aware that they exist. From unreached transcendences, and that glamour iridescent with the glory of the unseen. Now this is shining as if with the glory of that unseen, जिसकी ब्यूटी ये मैनिफेस्ट करने की कोशिश हो रही है यहाँ पे, as if that glamour is trying to manifest in whatever capacity it can, that glory of that unseen with a capital U, the glory of the unseen. I think it's just right away in the continuation with what Ashwin was sharing before. And this iridescent is, like, again sharing from Shraddhavan's commentary, uh, how the, feathers of a peacock, they shimmer as if changing colors when light falls on them. So that kind of a iridescent glamour, it's shining with all the colors, and it's trying to portray that glory of the unseen. Now, again, I would not fail it to connect with my own life, with our own personal lives. Those special brief moments where light comes and manifests itself, no matter how brief, maybe a 10-second of a frame. In that 10-second of a frame, as if that glory of the unseen is shining through and wanting to tell us something. That's a different matter, that in the other routines of life that kind of, fades away and takes a back seat. But it always stays with us. These moments of deep light and truth, they never leave us somehow. they always stay with us. We can always, sit in maybe meditation and somehow aloneness, and then we can recollect about these moments, how deep they were. Yeah. So this gives a hint of something of the beyond, and then further a message from the unknown immortal light. Now referring to the sun, the supreme truth, as if this glamour is trying to convey a message from the unknown immortal, that which is never born, never dies, light, immortal light. It's a message from that immortal light. Which light? The light which is always ablaze upon creation's quivering edge. So, imagine this the creation, which is the manifestation, and the light, which always is, from which the creation itself comes. So, referring to that light, which is always there, like a fire, flames, like the flames as they quiver on the creation's edge. All that is manifest is surrounded by this immortal blaze. Dawn built her aura of magnificent hues and buried its seed of grandeur in the hours. Now the dawn goddess, when she is now manifesting herself, she kind of, she comes with this intense beauty. And, I think dawn is a beautiful expression of our own spiritual dawns in our own lives. Because if one gets up in the morning, around this time, 3 to 5, and we look at the quietude, the wonder of colors, it's actually trying to tell us something. And as Sri Aurobindo has very beautifully shared in the letters on Savitri, he says that don't think that I'm imagining these things. This is how precisely it is, which I am, telling you in words. It's not an imagination that dawn is wanting to tell us something. It's not an imagination. It is the very purpose of the dawn to daily, perpetually rise and show us this possibility, this higher possibility which exists for each one of us, each moment of our life. And that is why it keeps on coming. It never gives up. Because one or the other day, one or the other soul will be ready. Right? Yeah, would you like to share something, Ashwin?
When you mentioned in earlier about those brief moments, what came into my mind was I don't know who had said it, was whether it was Sri Aurobindo or the mother, probably the mother.
Yeah.
She said there only in ordinary life there are only very few moments which actually when the psychic being is fully in front. So it's I think she said like when we are about to die,
Mm.
the psychic being kind of briefly has a flashback of those moments.
Yeah.
So and it's very like maybe I'm just paraphrasing, but she said it's very countable for an ordinary life. It's
Yes.
like much of the life it's just lived on the surface, and it's only very those free brief moments where
Beautiful.
the psychic is in front.
Yes, yes. And I think, that gives us a inspiration to have more of those deep and intense moments. And why not, because this is our possibility. This is a higher possibility that we are born for. So why not push ourselves in those domains where we are, instead of a shallow life, we are able to slow down and have that quality of depth in our life, where the psychic, for example, or the soul, that has the capacity to come to front and live it fully, rather than just always a shallow, lifeless routine. Because no one is forcing us, right? It's only us, we put ourselves in this perpetual race.
That's true. And
Yeah.
if I may connect to our discussion yesterday, what Taru said was like when we were sharing our stories,
Yeah.
in those that small time span, each of us chose certain things which we felt was important, in our lives. Similarly, if you see over our past lives, it's only these moments when the psychic being was in front, it's actually what was worth. It's the only thing which we carry into our next lives, really.
Yes.
Everything else, whatever it is, like your name, fame, money, or your others, good name, so-called good name or bad name, nothing is carried forward.
Yes, yes, yes. And this dawn goddess now, alongside, portraying the beauty, builds her aura of magnificent hues and buried its seed of grandeur in the hours. Now, this is also referring to the avatars, how they manifest in this earthly realm, show us a path, and then showing us this path, as if burying a seed of a higher possibility for human beings, and then they quietly go away. For because every seed takes its own time to manifest or to sprout. So just like that, this light that very short, for a short span of time, which comes to our human lives, in our own individual lives, it does its work. It never goes, a waste. It's never a waste. We can say that it maybe the moment was so little that we were hardly aware, but it has done its ripple. The ripple is there. The kind of a stir in our being is there, and in time, as we become more and more ready to have that splendor that the seed, uh, the capacity of the seed has, slowly that sprouts, and it kind of, becomes more of a plant, and then has leaves and branches, and slowly it was a very, very gradual process, because as mortal beings we are a process of time, although we are totally in touch, or a higher possibility of ourself with the eternity, but we are in time, it's happening in time along with happening in eternity. Yeah, and as mother says, mother gives this beautiful example which I have very often quoted as well, where mother shares that when you are on this path, many a times you feel very in too much in despair that nothing is happening, I'm not progressing. Don't think that nothing is happening, because she gives this example of a egg and chicken, how a chick develops in an egg, and for many, many days nothing is visible. Now it does not mean that the chick is not developing, and one day when the time is ripe, the chick just cracks the egg and it's out of the egg, and then we see that, okay, progress was happening. So to that seed which is now born, or sowed in there in the soil, it is now doing its work, and in time this will slowly manifest. Now this seed is also the seed of aspiration, because when we are in touch with these deep moments of life, some aspiration, some stir happens in our inertia, in our life full of inertia, which gives us this impulse to go ahead, which propels us ahead in life. And many a times, as we have, gone through the earlier lines, it's very vague. One does not even know where one is aiming at. The aim is also not very clear. But something is clear that this is not it, right? So we keep on seeking and seeking and seeking. So again, that thing of neti neti, as we were discussing yesterday also, not this, not this, but something is seeking, something is born alive within us, which is wanting to seek this light and to manifest the light. Yeah.
Monica, when you told about the chicken and egg thing,
Yes.
what I got reminded was in like few pages ahead, I think in Canto 4, there's this wonderful set of lines
Yes.
which says, even when we fail to look into our souls or lie embedded in earthly consciousness, still have we paths that grow towards the light.
Yeah.
So it's like even though outwardly we don't know what's happening, we feel
Exactly.
we are stuck and we're not progressing. Always in our inner being, there is something happening or something or the other happening.
Yes. Yes. I think, and that is the reason why to have faith in all these movements of our life. No matter how much of a dark period I may be going through, it all has a purpose. It all has a purpose, although the purpose may not be clear to us, but it's all in our ignorance. It's taking us to the right path that we have in this life, towards the light only. And that is the beauty of having faith in, no matter how ugly phases of life, because they're all taking us at the right place. And then a deep rest kind of comes, because then this struggle of the ego kind of stops, because if I am actually being led towards light, in any case, whether I am aware or not aware, then there is no struggle at all. Then one kind of collaborates with the flow. Yeah, beautiful. So let's take a few lines further. Yeah. So anyone who is now ready would like to take these 3 lines?
I'll go, Monica.
Okay, Aradhana.
An instant's visitor, the Godhead shone on life's thin border, a while the vision stood, and bent over earth's pondering forehead curve.
Thank you. So now this visitor, is an instant's visitor, because it's very brief. It's momentary, this visitor. But for an instant, this visitor, who is the dawn goddess, she shines bright in her all the aura and magnificent hues, with all the glamour and uh, glamour from the unseen, as we have read in the lines before. On life's thin border, a while the vision stood. Now vision with a capital V again, coming from that unseen, which was with the capital U, the vision from the unseen. And now this dawn goddess is as if she's just, for a moment, she's just right there, standing and representing that immortal light. If we can read this mystic script and pause for a while and look at her and see what she has to tell us. And this is also, when we look at Earth from the space, and at the time of the dawn, there is this subtle, layer of this atmosphere on the Earth, kind of the circle, the sphere of the Earth. And if you look from a space station or far above from space, there is this beautiful ring that appears around the Earth of the dawn time. And that also portrays the same beauty, as if it's coming from some untouched realms and wanting to tell us something. And bent over Earth's pondering forehead curve. Now, as if it feels like as if she is giving a blessing, the dawn goddess, as if she is giving a blessing, a little bending over the pondering curve of Earth. And now, why forehead curve? Because it's all a very mental life that we live, and this vision is coming from a life, beyond the mind. So as if it's blessing the mind of the Earth, it's blessing the human mind, so that it can do what it is born to do. The mind is, as we all, I think we discussed somewhere, I can't remember where, that the mind is to serve as a receptacle for the divine grace. Mind, at the moment we use our mind too much for this, logic, rational calculations, and all the manipulations, mostly serves the ego purposes. But the mind, and that is why the focus on a very still, calm, and a beautiful mind, because only then a pure mind and empty mind can serve as a receptacle for the realms from beyond, from the immortal light. Only then it has the capacity to touch the higher forms of mind, the higher rungs of the ladder, the overmind, the illumined mind. Only then. If we are not even able to have a mind which is silent, still, and calm, I think it's a complete waste of human life. So this dawn goddess, because of its stillness of the being, because of the quietude that it brings along with her, it's as if blessing the human mind, the earth's mind, that blessing of stillness and calm and quietude. Yeah. So let's take a few lines further. If not anything, just feel free to unmute and share. I'll go through these lines. Interpreting a recondite beauty and bliss in colors, hieroglyphs of mystic sense, it wrote the lines of a significant myth telling of a greatness of spiritual dawns, a brilliant code penned with the sky for a page. Now, this, as if the dawn goddess is trying to give us a lippy, if you can know, if you know what a lippy is, as if it's trying to give us a notation, in which notation it is trying to unmask, unreveal the recondite, the hidden beauty and bliss coming from that immortal light. So, as if this dawn goddess is interpreting in her own language of magnificent hues and the light and the colors and the quietude around it, as if through all that language, it's trying to unmask a hidden beauty and bliss, a cryptic kind of a language, in colors, hieroglyphs of mystic sense. Now, the colors of the dawn goddess are this language, hieroglyphs. It used to be in ancient Egyptian writings. These they would draw these figures, and that will serve as a cryptic code, which only a person who is initiate in this reading would be able to read. So if we pause for a moment, give ourselves this chance, only then, and if the grace is with us, only then we can decode this language which the dawn goddess presents before us, as if it's trying to demystify the mysticism around the beauty and the bliss through her own colors, which is her language. Colors is the language of the dawn goddess. Yeah. It wrote the lines of a significant myth telling of a greatness of spiritual dawns. Now, as we know, in the beginning of this Savitri, if we go through the first few pages, it's written Savitri, the legend and symbol, symbol and a legend. So, although it's a legend coming from the Mahabharata, but it's also a symbolism, a deep symbolism. Each and every character represents a deep symbolism in our human life. So it wrote the lines of a significant myth. Now, this myth has a deep symbolism inherent with it. And as if it's trying to write those lines and trying to convey that symbolism to us through her colors. and telling us about that hidden higher possibility, that we have that possibility in each moment, telling about a greatness of spiritual dawns, not just physical dawns, but the spiritual, deeper psychological dawns that happen in our consciousness, as we have been discussing. So when these streaks of light, streaks of grace, when we are touched with those in our being, in our life, there, as if a kind of a new language is put in front, कि अगर कर सको तो करो इसको decode. And only with the help of grace one can do it, because one needs a lot of stillness in the being in that moment to be able to pause and see for the depth that it's wanting to portray. A brilliant code penned with the sky for page, as if this sky, the whole sky, the blank sky, is the page on which she is writing this beautiful script and trying to convey us about these hidden realms, the hidden possibilities. And only if we are, if we would know how to interpret this code, only then we can get in touch with this higher knowledge, with this higher possibility, which is available to each one of us. Each one of us. We can never say that I am not worthy of this possibility. It's only a matter of a moment of a choice, a free will. There I choose and there I am with my higher possibility. Each moment of my life. Yeah, anything on this? Okay. So let's go further. Whoever is ready can maybe take these 4 lines. Anyone? Reggie?
Sure, I can
Yeah.
go. Almost that day, the Epiphany was disclosed, of which our thoughts and our hopes are signal flares, a lonely splendor from the invisible goal, almost was flung on the opaque inane.
Yeah. So almost, almost that day, the epiphany was disclosed. So it does not quite really completely happen. Almost, virtually fully, but not really there. Almost there, that day, the epiphany was disclosed. Now this is the revelation. Epiphany is coming from uh, Christian tradition, with the birth of Jesus Christ. It's coming from there. Epiphany is like a revelation, happened. Almost that day, the epiphany was disclosed, of which our thoughts and hopes are signal flares. So as Ashwin was also sharing in the beginning, in the middle, that although we don't know where we are being led to, but we are being led to light only all the time. So our thoughts, our hopes, that I seek something, I don't know what exactly I seek, but I know there is something which is better than this. So we are anyway seeking light, not even knowing that we are seeking light. So it is shared here that our thoughts, our hopes, our seeking, these are all just signals that that higher possibility awaits us, and we have in oblivion a knowing that it is there. Otherwise, why would these hopes be existing? Why would this seeking be existing if that was not there? Right? So this revelation is the very thing towards which our thoughts and hopes are nothing but a kind of a signs that this is to come. This is my higher possibility. There is some higher possibility, but I don't know completely what is it. But this is not it. This lifelessness is not it. So as if we are constantly pushed to a continuum of progression in our lives, owing to this revelation that awaits us. Yeah. A lonely splendor from the invisible goal almost was flung on the opaque inane. Now this opaque, inane, coming from also the initial few lines where it was this more portrayed this mechanical routine of the life, as if the earth is just hollowing the gulfs again and again, again and again, not knowing its complete purpose, not knowing why it is there in the very first place. So this opaque inanity, the silliness, the senselessness of existence, as if on this senselessness and lifelessness, this lonely splendor, because why lonely? Because that is the only thing which has life amongst this mechanical routine. As if imagine, there is a railing in the balcony and on which a towel is now flung. So as if on this balcony of this inane senselessness, this lonely splendor is now flung, as if wants to share, the immortal light wants to share or show us to us what is the possibility in front of all of us. Yeah. And in those moments in our lives, again referring to those psychological movements, spiritual dawns, in the middle of the monotonicity of life, in the middle of the lifelessness of life, in the middle of the struggle of life, there comes this brief, graceful moment, full of depth, full of a higher possibility, and full of soul in otherwise lifeless life. Again, portraying as if enchanting us with its glamour. Ki dekho, dekho, this is also possible. Wanting us to get awake to our own higher possibility. Yeah. So let's take a further more lines. Yeah. Anyone? Ashwin, Aradhana, Taru, whoever is ready.
I'll go.
Yes, Ashwin.
Once more a tread perturbed the vacant vasts. Infinity's center, a face of rapturous calm, parted the eternal lids that open heaven. A form from far beatitudes seemed to near.
Thank you. Now, this tread, this passage, the walk of dawn goddess, as if it's troubling a little these vacant vasts. It's troubling, and I also relate with this with when something new comes up in our lives, we all it disturbs our schedules. Although there is light in that thing that we see, there is light in that book or the talk or a person that we connect with, which brings through all those things, light comes in our being, but it also troubles the monotonicity and the vacant vastness of this life. So as if our old schedules now need to be broken. Once more. Why once more? Because it comes again and again. That even the dawn, the physical dawn also comes again and again. Once more, a tread, like this walk of the dawn goddess, perturbed the vacant vasts, as if it's disturbing them. Infinity's center, a face of rapturous calm. Now infinity, if we look at infinity would not have any center, because infinity is beyond imagination, it's boundless. But that's a paradox. infinity's center, as if all that infinity has collected itself, and all that intensity from that infinity is now manifested as this dawn goddess. Now her face seems to be the center of the infinity, a face of rapturous calm. Now rapture, but a calm. Intense, it's very intense. The light, the brightness, the beauty is very intense. It's rapturous beauty, but there is also a stillness along with that. Parted, as if parted the eternal lids that open heaven. Now when it opens, the dawn now cracks, as if it's opening the windows to heaven, as if it's giving us a window towards the higher possibilities that exist for us mortal beings. Parted the eternal lids that open heaven. A form from far beatitudes seemed to near, as if it was coming really close, although it seems like a paradox. But yes, from far beatitudes, it now coming as if very close to us. Yeah. So in those, deep, soulful moments, we always remember them, as we were discussing earlier, because something of these far beatitudes, something of, yeah, yes, Aradhana ji, I'll try to do that as much as I can again, yeah. As if that touches us for short, as if it kind of goes from nearby us for a short time. So Aradhana ji is saying to go over infinity's center again. So infinity, center kiska hota hai, Aradhana ji? If we look at anything, a boundary only would have a center, right? If I have a circle with a boundary, only then I can say, okay, this is the center of this circle. But infinity has actually no center, because infinity is boundless. We don't even know its depths and the wideness and the greatness of the infinity. So here, when Sri Aurobindo gives us this paradox together, it is for the mind to go beyond itself, because mind is always in logic and reason and these calculation ki bhai infinity ka center kaise hoga, main kaise nikalu, all this calculation. Now when he says a brief perpetual sign recurred above, a brief but a perpetual. So again, putting these paradoxes together. And now in this also, I don't think we'll be able to, fathom the depth of which or Sri Aurobindo wanted us to go towards. But touching just rightly there, the boundlessness of our existence, the boundlessness of our higher possibilities, as if it's collected in a center. It's kind of, essence collected in a center, and it's shown to us in that brief moment of light, or in physical brief moment of dawn, that look, this is your possibility. That intensity is wanting to get itself conveyed. And when it's said here infinity's center, it is referring to the face of the dawn goddess, the face of the dawn goddess, which is full of this intensity from that immortal light, as if it's the infinity's center in this moment, wanting us to get revealed to something from the unseen. So I think that is what I would like to say here. If Ashwin, you would have to say anything, just add, or anyone else. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. होता क्या है कि when we have these paradoxical situations with us, paradoxical words, then something in us feels helpless, that I'm not able to understand it, right? So when I sit if, for example, if later after the session or later, whenever you sit with these two words, infinity's center, and just sit with these two words, you would see that it's not of the mind. And that is the very purpose of using these contradictory words together. Because Savitri, as mother has also said, you don't need any qualification to read Savitri. Just invoke the mother's presence. Ask for the higher guidance to be with you. And slowly, as and when necessary, those lines will be revealed to you. So it is a chance for us to go beyond the mind. Through the mind, only a little can be understood. But a knowing, a dawning upon, comes only from beyond the mind. And that is the reason of this imagery. That is the reason of these paradoxical things that Sri Aurobindo, one of the reasons that they are kind of clipped together to kind of then so that the mind feels really hopeless, कि अब तो कुछ समझ नहीं आ रहा, and then it goes silent. And that in that silence, the true meaning or the true essence kind of, seeps in some form or the other. Yeah. So let's go over these yellow lines, ambassadress, starting from this. Aradhana ji, would you like to take these lines?
Yeah.
Yes.
Ambassadress. Sorry, my headphones fall off.
Yes, yes.
Ambassadress twixt eternity and change. The omniscient goddess leaned across the breadths that wrap the fated journeyings of the stars and saw the spaces ready for her feet.
Thank you. Now, this dawn goddess is an ambassadress, and it's journeying between eternity and change. Now, change is the space of time, time and space in which we mortal beings, the earth exists, and eternity, which is timelessness. So, as if the dawn goddess is this link between eternity, timelessness, immortality, and the world of change and time and death and life. This dawn goddess is the link between these two worlds. The omniscient goddess leaned across the breadths. Omniscient, it's there. Its presence is everywhere, and it knows. It knows also about the eternity. It knows also about the world of change and life and death and time. It has the knowledge of both the worlds. And now, during this time, it is leaning across the vast spaces that wrap the fated journeyings of the stars. And it is also a connection between, us as human beings, because we are also born under stars, under the influence of stars, because we are not separate from the existence. We are a part of existence. We are a part of the universe. So if during the moment of my birth, some star, certain star position is there, that obviously, affects my fate, or, a part of the evolution that I would have. So it is said here that our fated journeys, these journeys are as if they are fixed by our destinies, some part of it is fixed. And this dawn goddess now is leaning across these vast spaces of existence where we mortal beings are existing, the earth is existing, the universes are existing, that wrap the fated journeyings of the star. Now, this I personally connected this with the dawn of divine grace in our life, because Mother has said at one place that only divine grace has the capacity to even change the fate that is written in your astrological birth charts, for example. Only the divine grace has that prowess or the, the capacity. And here, it when I was reading these lines, it actually, it felt like if we are open in one moment to the divine grace, because in other we may slip. So I'm just talking of one moment. In one moment in which I am completely open as much as I can to the divine grace, in that moment, the journeying of the stars and the fate that is written, for example, for me, has no power at all. And there the goddess sees where are the spaces ready for her feet, as if, this dawn goddess in all her beauty now has to walk, and now she's looking for places. She sees, where do I move, where is the place ready for my stepping forward. So when in moments of our openness, light comes, and when we shun it away owing to our free will, it does not. In the sense, it does not reveal itself in its fullness. Although the evolution will go on towards light only, but the conscious presence of the divine grace, we will not be able to have access if we are living unconsciously in many moments. So the spaces for her feet has to be have to be prepared. Otherwise, where would she, keep her feet? For example, I think in the beginning of the lines, there's this line called "unlit temple of eternity." So this unlit temple is existing right within my being. This has to be cleansed, purified, sanctified, so that it prepares itself for the divine presence to be. Now, it is not that a divine presence is not there anywhere, it is everywhere. But this invocation has a very strong value, because God has also given us, the divine also has given us free will, because this journey has to be a free journey. When I feel I am ready, I say, okay, now I am ready to purify myself. Now I am ready to sanctify myself for a new adventure in life. So these spaces, when she sees, okay, now I see a space ready for my feet, then she steps forward in those spaces. Yes, Ashwin.
This is something unrelated actually. When you mentioned of spaces ready for her feet, if you see some of mother's photos,
Yeah.
you would notice like the ones with have her full profile. You would notice the footwear she was wearing.
Mm.
Most often, it would have a very slightly elevated platform. It was quite thick.
Yeah.
So this is something I picked up from Alok's talks. He has mentioned that she was very particular where she would walk barefoot, and
Yeah.
because and they say it in the tradition that such realized beings, when they even set foot on earth, or wherever they set foot, it has its own impact and vibrations.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
So
Yes.
if some people so there was, I guess some of you would know, there was one disciple who was on his verge of his deathbed, and
Mm.
then mother asked, what does he want, like one last wish kind of thing. And he very smartly asked her to place one of her feet on his chest.
Mm.
And then I think he went on to live for I guess 10 or 20 more years. I guess
Mm.
his name was called Nishikanto. He was a poet,
Okay.
and he had a lot of bodily condition illnesses and all that.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I think this is also mentioned in the Conversations of Mother with Mona Sarkar in the book called The Supreme, where Mother herself has said that on wherever I have set foot on this earth, I have changed the matter and in those places. This is Mother's her own words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, the whole beauty of the whole thing is that here, like from a larger perspective, the divine never forces you to change, or whatever.
Yeah.
Like unless you want to change yourself, you're given that free will if you want to evolve or not. It's not imposed upon you.
Totally. 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 Yeah. So let us take these two lines, and maybe for today, if we want to, we can end here. I'll take these two last lines. Yeah. Once she half looked behind for her wheeled son, then, thoughtful, went to her immortal work. Now, the dawn goddess has to do some work here on earth. There is a mission she's on, and the imagery that Sri Aurobindo creates for us here is because the sun is following, the sun is following her. So she looks at the sun as if, you're looking at a person when you say goodbye to that person, and then you go ahead to your further uh, wherever you have to go. So that kind of an imagery Sri Aurobindo has created, as if that lady, the dawn goddess, she half looked, just a half glance, half looked behind for her veiled son, yet veiled, Abhi, because the sunrise hasn't happened. Then, thoughtful, thinking about the mission that she's on, she went on to her immortal work. Immortal work. This is very mystical, this immortal work. Very intense. Yeah, and this work is the work that, for example, Sri Aurobindo and Mother paved a path in front of us, the path towards a divine life, which would take hundreds of years, but they have paved the path for us. Maybe hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, we don't know how much, but the certitude is there that because we are there walking on that path, we have been blessed with grace to have that capacity to put ourselves on this path, and the path is right there in front of us, and Mother is holding our hands, Mother is right there within our being. That gives us the certitude, the faith to keep on walking on this path, to keep following the light in our life rather than brooding over the darkness and all the other things that we can focus on as well in our life. So as Mother also said, in one of her lines, not exactly, but yeah, I think she said, I never look back in the past. I always look towards the future, towards the, the light. And that is a possibility that exists for each one of us. We all have our own pasts. We all have our own histories. But in each moment, we have also this free will, whether I want to look back or whether I want to look towards the future, toward this path of my higher possibility, which is right there, waiting for us, actually, waiting eagerly for us, because that itself is only a beginning towards a new life. It's not the end. Moving towards grace, working with the grace is not an end in itself. As Sri Aurobindo also says, nirvana is the first step in this yoga, integral yoga. Nirvana is not the last step, as was in the earlier traditions. So when we begin to walk this path consciously with grace each moment, allowing divine grace to manifest in our life, then a new life begins, which is the life which the divine wants us to walk upon. And we all must, I think, experiment with this, because otherwise it will be kind of a, I would say, a pitiful waste of this beautiful human life. Yeah. So I think today it's enough. Until here we have already 1 hour gone, and yeah. So anything else from any one of you? Yeah, done. Okay. So thanks for joining then, and I'll be putting up the recording of this session as always on the YouTube, and look forward to see you in the next sessions then. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Monica.
Thank you, Rajiv.
Take care.
Thank you.